Flosstube, it's Lisa Smith, Kindred Stitcher. Welcome to my channel. Today is July 22nd, and it is going to be another hot one. I feel like we're at the, inching toward the pinnacle of summer, where everything is brown. Even where I live, where it's normally green, the grass is dormant. There's a couple months out of the year where we don't get a lot of rain, which is a surprise, right? We get rain the rest of the year. But people come visit, they're like, oh, it's so beautiful here. And then they realize when they move that there's rain all the time. So what has happened since my last video? Well, we went to my husband's mom's house last weekend. My husband was there for several days, and some family members came. She's moved into a different place, and her house she had lived in for 61 years. So that was a huge undertaking to clear out. There was a big estate sale. She's still alive, but it was a big sale, and it was crazy. It was one of those things where you're like, oh, I think I need to de-stash some things. When I get home, Todd and I have had a couple conversations. He's like, are there things you're never going to stitch? I'm like, of course there are, but that doesn't mean I'm just going to get rid of it. Just saying. Maybe in retirement I'll go through things with the fine-tooth comb, but right now maybe not. I have an amazing piece, a quilt that was handed down that I'm going to share in this video. It is such a treasure, and it has an amazing story that goes with it. So I would encourage you to stay tuned and listen to that little presentation, because it's a heart melter. What else is going on? So we did that last weekend. Today, my youngest son is coming. Last weekend was my husband's birthday. My youngest son had said he wanted to come smoke a brisket here. He hadn't smoked a brisket before, and we just had to put it off for a week. And so we're doing that today. We have friends coming over tonight, so kind of a potluck barbecue. And what else is going on? I've just been stitching and enjoying the summer, really. Well, let's get started. I do want to start with the giveaways from last time. I kind of jump around each video. You don't always know when I'm going to talk about giveaways, and I don't always have giveaways, but I had several last time. And so these are the people who won this Tulip Pink bag, Carrie Dye, D-Y-E. I think her handle is Carrie Dye 7258. You won this bag. I'll put my email address in the drop down below this video, so just click on the carrot and the drop down opens up, and it'll have my email address in it. Down in the valley, the winner was Maureen Lopez. Her handle is Maureen Lopez 9266. This is a kit. This is Flag Day, Denise Shoop. I think you're Denise Shoop 926 or something like that. Denise Shoop, S-H-O-U-P is your last name. And this one, some gave all, was Karen Bradley, at Karen Bradley 263. Lilac was Helen A. Her handle is Helen _AMT. The house, True, Proud and True. The winner is Margaret Yoder, and that's Margaret Yoder 3007. And then Mildred's House, the winner was Christy Fowle, F-A-U-L-L. Christy Fowle is Christy Fowle 5721. And then Forget Me Not is Barb Baldwin. Barb Baldwin 9213. So congratulations to the winners. Please send me an email with your address where to send your winnings. So in addition to that, I had two big finishes, and I finished one pretty soon after the last video. As you can imagine, this is Summer at Hollyberry Farm. I've shown this on Instagram. Both of these finishes I've shown on Instagram. This is stitched on 40 count espresso by R&R. We'll see, maybe I'll move this over here, maybe it's easier. Yeah, of course it is. And it was a delight to stitch. It's pretty much the called for colors. Cranberry was used on the outer border. I think it called for like Country Redwood, but I picked Cranberry by General Arts. It had a lot of great variegation in it. And I think pretty much everything else is the same. I did something different with the roof. I talked about it last time. Stacy Nash wants you to stitch in a triangle and kind of create a pattern that way, and which works great, but I just wanted to do something different, so I created a diamond pattern. And the inside color, the inside of the diamonds is whatever the darker brown is in that color palette, and the lighter one is walnut. I want to say picnic basket might be the inside color. Picnic basket? No, it looks too light for picnic basket. I don't know. If you want to know, ask me a question and I'll look it up for you. So much fun to stitch. Can't wait to get this framed so I can hang it in my tiny house. A lot of stuff I have is at my sister's house in pillowcases being protected. So that was my first finish, and I love, love, love that one. The pattern again is Stacy Nash, Summer at Hollyberry Farm. And the second one is Lady of Mystery by Mirabilia. She's so pretty. This is stitched on a one-of-a-kind fabric by Fantasy Dyed Fabrics. She would sell on Etsy, I think, and she would post maybe on a Facebook group. I can't remember, it's been so long ago, that she would show or indicate when she had put things up for sale, and they would go like super fast. So I bought this one. It's a 32 count. It looks like a Jobelin. I did love Jobelin. I do love Jobelin, actually. It's a very soft model dye. And the beads are not done. I don't know where the beads are. They're in a box in the shop somewhere, along with my iron and some other things I need to dig out. But that's for another day. She turned out gorgeous. All right. So that, oh, and then what I worked on, I should have told you that. Really, I had done a lot of this was done before I picked it up. And I had to order another skein of the Karen Water Lily. I think it was 163. It was sable. Can't remember what color it is. But this whole area I stitched here. And it took a while. I mean, you think, oh, that's not that much, but you gotta pay attention. And there's some thread changes in there, so it was fun. I enjoyed it. So 2 big finishes. I had a couple more whips I'll show you. Where'd they go? Okay, so after I finished Lady of Mystery, I've had a hankering to pick up this whip for a little while now. And it is Elizabeth J.M. Mears by Queenstown Samplers. I mean, look at that house. It's huge. The picture is unfortunate because it's very blown out. And anyway, I'm stitching this on a 40 count. I want to say this might be Parchment by Weeks. And when I picked it up, I had like one. I started this in Mania. I'm sure it was in Mania. No, I started it with my friend Lori Mischievous Stitches at the New Jersey retreat. And I had done one plank of fencing and this bit of grass down here. So I have since done one of the flowers, and I started another flower, but you can't see it. It's so ghosty. It's just about disappears into the fabric. So I decided what I'm going to do is pull out all the colors for this sampler and do some substitutions. I might even do some overdyes. This is all DMC. It's charted for, I think, NPI or DMC. I have to pull out the legend to see, but I might do some overdyes. You never know with me what I'm going to do. This is about a third of the way. I think it's going to be about this wide. 1, 2. Yeah, this is about, no, it's going to take most of this. It's going to be most of the width of this fabric. Anyway, so Elizabeth Mears. I worked on that, I don't know, 1 or 2 days. Then I didn't work on that one. I thought I was going to. But this one has been calling to me. And the whole time I'm stitching my Summer at Hollyberry and my Lady of Mystery, I am thinking about this sampler. And it's because Carol Saltbox showed it on her channel in her mid-year whip parade. And she said, I think Lisa has this done. And I was like, no, I don't. I do not have it done. This is Rose Wreath Sampler by GGR. And this is my all-time favorite GGR pattern. It is so beautiful. Karen from Fox and Rabbit finished it and showed it framed in, oh, I don't know, a few videos back. So I am stitching this. There's a whole saga with this. I'm stitching it on 40 count. It was labeled 46 count. Sandstone, mudstone or sandstone by Silk Weaver. And it's cut like this. So if I'd known it was 40, not 46, I would have started over a little bit more. And my heart beat very fast because I thought I was going to run out of room at the top, and I didn't. It's going to be close to frame it, but it should be frameable. There is, so you see what I'm saying over here. You should probably check, I should probably check before stitching if the marked thread count is accurate. So here it is. Is that not? Look at those birds. I can hardly stand how pretty they are. I am loving stitching on this. It is so pretty. I love a pretty sampler. It's my very favorite kind. All I have left really is to do this flower and maybe this one. Finish over here. There's some flowers here. There's a couple little birds here, a couple flowers here, and that will mark about a third of the way done. This is about a third of the pattern. But it is just, I'll be stitching on this. I'm going to plan to rotate between this one and Persuasion, my Jane Austen Sal. By the way, Annie, Chelsea, and Belle, thank you for joining back into that Jane Austen Sal. At least Annie did. I don't know about the girls, but yeah, they're leading the Sal on Jane Austen stitch along. So those were my whips. I have a little bit of haul. Let's see. This over here, I went with my sister and my mom to a regional craft store. It's mostly in the Pacific Northwest, and I saw these little pedestals. They were in the wood section, and they're so cute. It doesn't say who produced them or who the manufacturer is. It's just marked with a price. And I thought this would be adorable to put a little drum on. Just, you know, Brenda Gervais is my inspiration for that because she made that Happy Birthday kit, Happy Birthday America kit, and I just think that this is adorable. So this is kind of in that same vein. I bought that. I actually bought 3 of those because why buy one when you can buy 3? Also went to Acorns and Threads, and I bought the next 2 patterns in the Summer House Stitchworks 2023 Fragments in Time. This by far is my favorite Fragments in Time. It is just so pretty, and I'm thinking about stitching them together and putting a border around it and between them. Have not decided what it will look like, but I'm thinking about just making something for this. This one is you can see this is a swan. Look at how pretty that is. And this is a, what's a bouquet of flowers? I guess they're just numbered. They're not named. So I bought that at Acorns and Threads. I also, I don't know what it was. I was over in the Just Nan section. I bought this. Is that not adorable? Gingerbread garden cube. So this is a cube pattern. And this is not the exact little mouse, but it's pretty close. This one's gingerbread mouse. I mean, the cuteness is just overwhelming. And then this one, gingerbread Santa mouse. And it comes with the little hat. How cute is that? This is what I really wanted, Hannah Campbell. So Jo Florence on Instagram, she does design work, and she had sent me a pattern one time, and I showed you that pattern. She did her own color substitution on this, and I watched her stitch this, and it's just gorgeous. Now I know that there's a lot of over 1 on here. That's okay. Hannah Campbell, beautiful, by Hands Across the Sea. I bought a couple little buttons to put with my little Just Nan. I think that had called, like, there was a some sort of a decorative pin in it. I didn't see it. Then also, as I was tooling around Acorns and Threads, I found these, and I thought these were adorable. These are sheep buttons, mother of pearl sheep buttons. So if you're stitching like a needle book or some sort of small that you house your needles in, this would be very cute as like a little clasp, like you had a little piece of elastic that went over it, or just decoration on the pin keep itself. So those were pretty reasonable. I bought those. In the mail, last time I showed you some fabric by this is, who is the designer on this? I can't remember. I bought it from Australia, and I blame this on Lori Textiles. She showed me this, and I wasn't sure if I was going to buy it. And I'm like, is this a fat quarter bundle? I thought I ordered a fat quarter bundle. This is fabric. This stuff with the color swatches is fabric. I love this. It's La Etienne, or Saint Etienne. I can't remember. But the colors are fantastic, and it's gorgeous. I think it's an Australian fabric maker. I bought it from an Australian shop. I will put the information down below of where I got it. It's made by Motifs, I think. But if you're interested in ordering it, it's a little spendy, but the fabric is gorgeous. So this I also picked up at at Acorns and Threads. I saw a couple stitchers there. Jen from Too Tall Stitchers was there. And I didn't know she was going to be there. She was on vacation. We just happened to run across each other. We're like, hey, how's it going? And just chatted. And I was up there because my friend Vicky Fazio, who I have seen for years on Facebook groups, she was in the area, and she reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to meet up at Acorns and Threads? And we found a time that worked. And so it was nice to chat with her. I wish we would have had a little more time. I ended up having to come back and work that day. And with her was Carrie Proulx, P-R-O-U-L-X. She's Cricklewood Prims, I think is her Instagram name. If I get any of this information wrong, I'll correct it on the screen, because I would tell you that my memory is not the best. And on Flosstube videos, it just happens where you say something and then you go back and watch it, like, that's not right. But it just happens. So I think Carrie or Vicky took half of this piece of Lakeside lentil, and I took the other half. And I have something in mind for it, which is At Home by Brenda Gervais. I bought this from Michelle Rudy at Farm Girl Dry Goods. So this came out, and I'm thinking it might be stitched on this Lakeside lentil. So this piece of lentil, sometimes the lentil can be really green. This one is not. It's pretty tan. And I think this would be soft and would look great on it. Here's the threads. It's very, very soft and pretty. Some people are stitching it. I think Elizabeth Ann can stitch is stitching it. Lots of people. I mean, Brenda is just knocking it out of the park when it comes to the samplers. Well, she does on everything else too, but the samplers really are sucking me in. I mean, I've stitched Every Opening Flower and Rejoice Evermore. Just, I want to stitch everything that she's making right now. So there's that. I also got from Michelle, she had kitted up A Girl in Her Garden. This was last year's country sampler. It was an exclusive for their shop for their summer camp. And look at how beautifully presented that is. It has a waxer, it has all the threads, and also came with the finishing kit to make the drum. So that was, I got that from Michelle. When I came back from last weekend being at my husband's mom's house, my mother-in-law's house, I stopped at, it's like an antique mall, and they have great stuff, let me tell you. But I ended up, I bought these. These are 3 little bunny molds. They're like the Jello molds. of the day, beautifully little package. And this would make adorable pin cushions, don't you think? Something springish. So I bought that for not a lot. And I picked up this linen, this is a tablecloth. And I suppose you could stitch on this. It's like a billion count. But I think, and Lori Textiles taught me this, sometimes older linens, if they have a stain and you're not going to use it, like maybe it's too much and you wouldn't put it on your table, you can upcycle it by using it for other projects. Like if you were going to make a stuffed bunny, wouldn't that be pretty in this pink fabric? Or even so, you could put a wool applique piece on there. Wouldn't that be pretty? Something springish. So it just inspired me to look closely at older linens. This one I wouldn't probably cut up because it is really perfect. There's nothing at all. But a lot of times they'll have a yellow spot that even with the right soap, the conservative type soap, it doesn't take it out. So it's an option. Okay, in that same store, I about died. I walked through the store and then, it never happens. You have to go to the bathroom halfway through. And so I found the restroom. I'm like, okay, now I can relax and shop. So I had not seen this on the way through, but I saw it on the way back. And I couldn't believe it. Okay, so this is an antique, and I see these on eBay. This holds needles, and I think they're sewing machine needles and shuttles. And so how it works is you're like, okay, I need this needle. So you open it up, and then in here are little holes where it had vials with that type of needle. So if you're like, okay, I want this one, you got to move this, and it moves the mechanism below it, and it opens it up to a different section. I mean, it was very reasonable. I couldn't grab it fast enough. So I feel like I'm decorating for my house that's not even built yet. And my husband is really supportive. He's like, whatever you want, it's fine. Also, Facebook Marketplace has been kind to me. I bought a Martha Washington little sewing stand for hardly anything. And the gal I bought it from didn't even know, she had no idea what it was. So what was great is that as we were talking about it, I said, this is how it works. The ladies used to sit and they would darn their socks, or they would sew, or they would be embroidering their linen so that it could go out and be laundered, and they would get it back. And on the Martha Washington sewing tables, there's long, like, tubular drawers. They're like, I don't know if they're drawers, what they are, that flap open, and you could put big pieces down in there. And then the top drawer had a pull-out tray that had needle, places for needles and thimbles and all that. And it had a bunch of old thimbles in there that she left in there for me. The next drawer had a little pull-out metal rod that you could put, it looked like spools of thread on there, and then you could snap it down and your thread would stay in one spot. I mean, I was just like, oh my gosh, I was so excited. And so I'll insert a picture or a video of it right here. Facebook Marketplace strikes again. A Martha Washington sewing cabinet. This was listed by a local lady. She was in the next town over, and it was a great price. She didn't know what it was, but it's not perfect. It needs some TLC. Right, kitty girl? Yeah. When you open the top drawer, it has this sliding door, and look at the 1970s paper that's lining the bottom. That kills me. She left all of these little thimbles in there too. So this goes back and forth. Then on the second drawer, there are spool holders. So you just take this out, put your spool of thread on, put it back in. And then the bottom one is just, it doesn't have a fancy liner in it. And then the ends hold your projects. So it's not perfect. I can do a little bit of buff and clean up, but I love that it's not perfect, quite frankly. Tomorrow I'm going to meet somebody in Portland to take a look at a table they have, and it's a sewing table. They have it listed as like a library table or a sofa table or something like that, but it has what they call a pot belly, drawer on the bottom when you put, it almost looks like a grain bin on a Hoosier, but you pull it out, you can put your project in there. And it also has, when you pull out the drawer, it has little cubbies for your sewing accoutrements. So my house may not have anything but sewing furniture, but it will have sewing furniture. All right, so I want to share a couple things with you when I was at my mother-in-law's house. So it was fun to go look. I had some things I had made for her over the years. There was a Christmas, kind of a winter scene with a cottage and a girl pulling a tree, and it was adorable. And I just didn't want that to be sold. My niece really wanted it, so I gave it to her, and that was just so much fun to make sure that she got that. And my little nephew was with her, her son, and he, my great nephew, and he was born on my birthday. So I just love to keep that all in the family. I ran across this. I made this, I don't know, in the 90s. It's a bread cover, and it had a little, like a calico, put it underneath and you put it into a basket. Now she had in her house a pellet stove, and it had some soot that emanated, and so some of the stuff has soot on it, and I've shaken it out, but I'm going to try. I don't know how to clean it. I'm going to have to do some research on it to see how I can clean it. She, my mother-in-law worked at a bookbindery. It was a very small town that my husband's from. There was like 300 people in town. They had a bookbindery, and they did work from all across the state. And Moonstruck was a chocolate business in Portland, Oregon, and they hired the company to make boxes that would have chocolates in them. And she made one and kept it for herself. I have another one that's blue, but I love this one. So what's really hard is that when you have 61 years worth of stuff, what do you keep? She kept some things. She was a collector. She had a lot of figurines. She had dolls. She had a wide variety of very varied taste. And so I just picked a couple things that reminded me of my mother-in-law, and this is one of them. It was handmade. I was interested in that. This was, we used to belong to a pinochle group, and my mother-in-law won this at Pinochle one month, and our friend Delpha made this. And I remember when I saw this, it's got Easter eggs on it. I saw this in her house, and I thought, oh, that's right up my alley. I would love to have that, put it out at Easter time. And then this was in the pile of stuff too. I think my mother-in-law might have bought this. I'm not really sure, but it's a baby quilt. I know she didn't make it, but it says, now I lay me down to sleep. Heavenly angels guard my sleep. Amen. But look at this. How adorable is this? And it's is this hand quilted? Let me look. No, this is machine quilted. But it's like maybe somebody pieced it later on. Well, I couldn't, there was stuff, we were just trying to get rid of things, quite frankly. And so had we, had other means or time to put things on eBay or something like that, we would have done that. So my husband's cousin, so my mother was one of 5 kids, and my husband's mother was one of 5 kids, and my husband's dad was one of 9 kids. And his grandmother's name was Bernice. His mom's mom is Gladys. And Bernice made a crazy quilt for Darlene, her sister, and Gladys. And Kim, Darlene's daughter, has the crazy quilt from Darlene, and she asked us to look for the crazy quilt for Gladys, and we couldn't find it, and my sister-in-law found it in a pile of blankets. And so what was fun about this is that it's a modern crazy quilt, so it was probably made in the 70s maybe, but it has a wide variety of fabrics, and it is so colorful and joyful and fun and sparkly. There's lots of sparkly fabrics in it. Most of the fabrics are synthetic, but she did a nice job with the stitch here. And it's kind of a sampler quilt, so it's only this big. But it's heavy, and it was so much fun. So I'm taking it to my husband's cousin at our family reunion next month, and she'll be happy to have that because we couldn't find it, and she remembered it, and so we looked for it and found that for her. Now, I I was so astonished. My family, my husband's family, my husband was there a few days before I was there, and I was literally only there for a day and a night and half of the next day. And he texted me and he said, "Would you like this quilt? There's a patchwork quilt. Do you think you would like this?" And I knew that my mother-in-law had this. I'd seen it in her house, and then he sent me a picture, and I'm like, yes, I love that. It's a signature quilt. And he said there's provenance about it. So I put some Insta stories out and kind of told my viewers on Instagram about this. I'm just going to read it to you real quick, because my husband's grandmother wrote this, and she put it in the Tillamook, Oregon County Fair in 1986, which was the year that I graduated from high school. And this is what Bernice, my husband's grandmother, said. My great aunt Josephine Barnhart, which is, again, my husband's grandmother's great aunt, born in 1859 and lived in Barnhart, Minnesota, Barnhart, B-A-R-N-A-R-T or H-A-R-T, Minnesota, where she taught school. At that time, you only needed an 8th grade education to teach. She taught all 8 grades. She made this quilt from pieces of the girls' dresses and boys' shirts. The material, orange with black dots, was her dress. She wore it almost daily. She would wash it by hand and iron it and wear it the next day. It usually lasted a year. Each block has a name written on it of the pupil the material belonged to. She died in 1944. She was my grandmother's sister on my dad's side of the family. At that time, she said she believed the quilt was 127 years old. So this was her entry into the Tillamook County Fair. And then she wrote that she gave it to my mother-in-law. And this is her note about it must have been the exhibitor's entry thing. And here's a picture of her great aunt. And it says, my great aunt Josephine Barnhart. She was a school teacher. She was married, went back to her maiden name. My dad's aunt, dad's mother's sister. This quilt was made by hand with pieces of material from the boys' shirts and the girls' dresses. How special is that? So, this quilt is gorgeous. It has a little bit of a couple of marks on it, but for crying out loud, it's from the 1800s. I'm going to try not to get lipstick on it. It's mostly these earth tone colors. This block here, it was her dress, this color here. These were the children's. And as you can see, she wrote the names of children. Let me see if I can get one that's written clearly, because they're a little bit faded. Oh, here's a great one. She wrote it with a pen. It must have been probably a quilt pen, for crying out loud. It was in the 1800s. Impeccable penmanship, beautifully written. You can see the colors are amazing. The back is sort of a chintz, sort of a feed sack kind of look to it, but it's that muted earth tone colors. There's some blues, there's grays, but you know, back then there weren't a lot of probably vivid colors. If you're in a humble, you know, one-room schoolhouse, there's one red, there's a blue. I'm just trying to keep my lipstick off of it. So I put the Insta story up, and Brenda Holzman reached out to me, and she said, is this name on there? Can you tell me if I saw that correctly? And I said, yeah. I went and looked at, yeah, that name's on there. She said, that last name is the same as my maiden name. I'm going to have my son look and see if that's an ancestor of mine. And today, she texted me and said, it is. So my husband's grandmother's great aunt taught her, I think it was a great grandmother, and, or, you know, whatever along the way. And her clothing and name is on the quilt that I own. So isn't it amazing how we're all connected and how one little bit of social media connects one person in Oregon to another person on the other side of the country. I just thought it was fun to share. Such an honor to be asked if I would like that quilt. Of course I'd like it. Rachel from Treehouse Fiber Arts reached out to me and she said I should enter this on quiltindex.org, which is a database of these types of quilts in the United States. So I plan to do that. Well, I hope you had a great time being a part of the video, and today is toward the end of July. I will try to be on in a couple of weeks. There's more coming up. I have a family reunion. I have a couple weddings. I have bridal showers, all the things that happen in the summer. So I will plan 2 weeks, but it may be 3. So I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again next time. Take care.